Everyone told you mortgage rates would fall this year, and instead, they went the wrong direction. Rates bottomed out in February at 6.09%, then reversed immediately, and are currently sitting about 6.5% right now. And the Fed isn't talking about rate cuts. They're talking about rate hikes. And here's the part that nobody is saying out loud. Right here in Ventura County, homes are still selling at a median of 100% of the list price, but the average home is taking around 50 days to sell. Both of those things are true at the exact same time, and it makes a difference on your strategy in 2026. The sellers winning this summer aren't the lucky ones, they're the prepared ones. In the next 10 minutes, I'm going to walk you through the inventory, pricing, timing, and the buyer behavior for 2026 in the second half here, including why the fall might be quietly your best shot. And if you're 55 and older, in California, Section 6 of this video is going to teach you how to save thousands in property taxes. So let's get into it. Number one is the market is back to normal-ish. Now, what do I mean by normal-ish? A normal market is balanced, not a buyer's market, not a seller's market. Takes about 6 months for the entire inventory to sell out. We're not there yet. We're at right around 2.9 months, which is still a little bit fast, but it's a lot more balanced than it used to be. What does that mean? That means that buyers have choices. So as a seller, you need to use that business sense and common sense and prepare, because chaos was good for the buyers, but a prepared seller is going to take advantage of the current market where things are moving only if they're priced right. Scarcity is no longer a strategy, meaning that if you're a seller, you can just put it on the market and have it sold inside of 2 days. So California, it is literally one of the states that has a lower inventory increase than the rest of the United States. The United States in total has about 1.5 million listings currently, and that's 30 straight months of annual growth. Yet California doesn't fit into that. So we're still looking at a little bit of a tighter inventory. And like I said, Ventura County specifically is 2.9 months, which means the supply is a little bit leaning toward the sellers. But there's more to say about that. The key line here is buyers are no longer buying what they can get. They're buying the best thing they can find, right? Which is a different strategy. Number three is the days on market. It used to be, as a seller a year ago, that if you weren't in contract inside of 48 hours, you thought there was something wrong with your property. That is just not the way things are in today's market. Average days on market are a little over 2.9 months, which is almost 90 days. Well, the typical escrow is around 30 to 45 days, meaning that people are not getting their properties in contract for a good 30 to 45 days. What does that mean? That means that buyers have time to look at things, and they know this. So they're also not just going to just accept whatever when the contract comes in. They're going to ask for all the inspections and all the little things as they go along, whatever they feel like they can negotiate. Number four is pricing. The national median home price is $429,000, and that's up a little bit, 1.3% over last year. But Ventura County is a completely different animal. We are actually at around $860,000 at the median sales price in Ventura County, and that's actually down 1.7%. And the translation of that is it's a buyer's market, but it's more balanced than it used to be. So we're looking at a place where you need to price accordingly and prepare ahead of time, because you need to be in control as a seller as much as possible and really giving your house the best chance to find that buyer on the market. All right, let's talk about interest rates. Now, we're no longer going to be able to count on interest rates dropping enough to bring that, 2-3 million buyers into the market. And what does that take? About 1%. Like if we were at 6.5%, as we are basically today, and they dropped to 5.5%, that's going to bring an extra 2 million buyers onto the market nationwide. That's going to make a big difference, right, as far as affordability for those people. And that translates into faster sales, higher sales price, and a little bit of a seller's market. But we're not there yet, and I just don't see that coming this year especially. So what do we need to do about that? Like I said, up till now, we need to make sure that we prepare as much as possible ahead of time. That means if you know you're going to sell, you need to take 60 days and start making repairs. Get somebody in to help you out, make some of those decisions early, and be wise about it. Don't just start fixing everything. Fix the things that are going to make the best return on your money. All right, now let's talk about who in California is actually selling. And the typical seller on average is 65 years of age. And what does that mean? They are basically life changes, right? So they're either moving up, moving down, moving closer to grandchildren, or, moving to another state to drop their taxes because they do live in California. And what does that mean? If they stay in California, the reason this is becoming a bigger thing, Prop 19 actually makes it to where they can carry that lower property tax rate to the new property. So let's say you have a property that you're selling at $500,000 and you bought it for $230,000. A lot of people don't want to sell because they're paying taxes on that $230,000 number, not the $500,000. And they know that if they move somewhere else, and let's say they buy a house for $750,000, all of a sudden they're going to be paying taxes on that $750,000 number. Well, that's a scary thing. What Prop 19 does is it makes it to where you can actually keep that low property tax number, that $230,000, plus a little bit of a variance in there. It's not huge, but it's small variance, and they can pay that same tax rate on that $750,000 home. And it's a wonderful thing. It gives sellers in that 55 and over range that opportunity to be able to take advantage of that and move without knowing that they're going to have to pay an extra $6,000 a year in property taxes. And it makes a huge difference to sellers. All right, number 7 is buyer behavior. I alluded to this a little bit, but we're not in a place where buyers are feeling like panicked that they just have to accept everything the seller says. So what are they doing? They are putting longer inspection periods into the contracts, definitely not buying things as is, and they are also looking at every single inspection and asking for things before they actually sign off on their contingencies. And so what does that look like? Well, if you're my buyer, I always tell people, hey, we're going to get every single inspection so you know exactly what you're going to walk into. I have had folks that have been burned where they didn't do that in the past. I actually had one, was a friend of mine. She ended up not buying a property through me, and she got burned because the agent that actually sold her the property told her, hey, you don't need to get a pool inspection. That's a brand new pool, blah, blah, blah. And it turns out that the entire pool was wasted, and it cost her $45,000 because she just trusted the listing agent. Don't do that. Get every single inspection every single time, and you'll know exactly what you're walking into. That does not mean that every single one of those inspections combined is your complete wish list of what the seller has to do for you to buy the property. That can get really expensive really fast, and you need to keep in mind that you are actually buying a used home, but you do need to know what you're walking into and then choose wisely. I typically say our minimum requirements are to make sure that everything is safe when we move in. Everything beyond that are options for the seller and the buyer to negotiate on. All right, seasonality. Now, obviously, we are halfway through the year. It is, July in 2026, and that means that we're coming out of the super hot season of 2026. But I really think that the upside of that is there's a lot less strife in our market, meaning that we're going to see a little bit of a peak because things are getting a little bit more normal, and we're coming into an election year. So there's going to be some pressure. There's even a housing bill that hasn't been signed, but it's going to go into law, I think, tomorrow, because if a president doesn't sign something, it actually goes into law 10 days later, whether they want to play their politics or not. Unless they physically veto something, it's still going to go into law. And so there's going to be a housing bill that comes around, and it might have some actual effects in the market this fall as far as how that all rolls out. So we might see a place where the fall and winter end up being the better half of the market in any given year. All right. So number 9, is my last one, and that is the Agent Shakeout. Now, what do I mean by this? Well, 2020, the pandemic years, had a wild effect on everything. Inventories were super tight. It was super hard to buy something. I would literally stand and show property to these clients of mine in Stockton. We would literally be in line of like 40 people trying to just view a house. It was crazy. Well, what did that mean? That meant that there was a lot of agents out there who weren't good at listing property, that were basically priced out of the market, meaning they needed to go get a job so they could eat next month as opposed to just hanging out. So there was a lot of brand new agents on the market when a lot of the more experienced ones have gone away. So we have the basically three categories of agents right now. We've got these ultra experienced that are, been doing this for 20, 25 years. We've got the ultra inexperienced, which are people who are coming into the market because they see that there's some lucrative opportunities, but we're still not there yet. And then we have this gap, right? Well, that's where all these people who were mediocre agents have actually gotten out of the market. So there we have a smaller amount of agents, but a larger gap in experience. So make sure that as a seller or a buyer, that you actually get some real numbers from exactly what your agent is doing. This market requires experience. It requires somebody who knows how to negotiate, how to prep homes, and how to get you through an escrow and make the money. Whether you're on the buyer side or the seller side, you need to make sure you interview those agents and do a good job of it. I hate to say it, but you can't just give the transaction to your niece who just got her license yesterday. All right. What does this whole video come down to? This video comes down to you want to make sure that you prep, because the person who preps properly in this market is going to be the winner. If you're just listing it and hoping to sell quickly, you might find yourself 90 days down the road having to do all these price reductions, and your property has become stale, and you're going to get less than you would have if you would have just taken the time ahead of time and prepared your house to sell. All right. So thank you so much for watching. If there's anything I missed, write it down in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more tips and tricks. Like I said, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a great day.